Good morning, everybody. This is my first recording since the 15th of September. As you who've taken the trouble to follow me know that I read children's stories, Bible stories, and comments on what is going on with COVID-19. I've read from Dr. Coleman Vernon's book and others, and for reading about vaccines, YouTube banned me for 90 days. However, I'm not back to normal because I went to London from the 15th until yesterday, Monday, and I don't feel back to normal. I've been brought up to believe in calling the police to sort out any problems. I was not brought up in my 73 going 74 years to believe that the police of this country, Great Britain, would ever instigate violence, do it, cause it. I always believed that they were there to help. So this video is not going to be my normal reading, that's why I'm not wearing my glasses, and I want you to know that I'm going to tell the truth. So in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear Heavenly Father, please send your Spirit upon me that I may tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I'll have to answer that. And I'm recording. Can you ring back? Who is it? I can't talk. Sorry, that was Barbara from Manchester, my black Jamaican friend. I'll call her back later. Yes, I wish to record the truth as I saw it, not as a fantasy. I have not been to a protest anywhere for over 20 years. In my youth, I can't say that I would. I've done many. I've been to one at Peterborough for the protection of the unborn child. That was a while back, but I support women who are considering abortion and helping them to keep their babies or go through the pregnancy. That's what I believe in. But now I'm here to talk about the police. Nothing else but the police and what I witnessed. So Lord help me tell the truth. I was prepared to go to protest a peaceful protesting rally in Trafalgar Square. So in advance I went to Snappy Snaps and I asked them to make that, you can see it in the video, bog off our freedoms, Boris. The reason that I did that was I hold him responsible for everything that is going on in our nation at the moment, because sadly back in April he signed away all our voting rights to our MPs who represent us, I didn't put my one in, he got in regardless, and he believes in 5G. His name is James Wild MP, first time MP, and he believes that it's fine because he worked for EE. That's all I'll say about him. However, I went to exercise my freedom to be anywhere, to support anything, particularly freedom of speech, which we should be able to go to Speaker's Corner and speak. You certainly can't speak freely on YouTube. If they don't like you, they cut you off, and they edit, or there doesn't seem to be enough freedom of speech. So I expected to hear the speakers in Trafalgar Square. Because I'm claustrophobic, I went on the buses, two buses from Camden, where I'm staying with my goddaughter from Gaza and her family, and her children consider me Nana Janet. I went there and I got there early, round about 10:30, and I sat outside the Tate Gallery on a wall at the entrance because I felt safe there. It was far enough away from what would be going on down below, and I thought I can still see and hear, although the hearing wasn't as good as the crowd. I could hear them better than the speakers. However, I sat there with my poster on sticks, which cost me £39 out of my 44 pension, and £3.50, and the take came to 5, so that was 39 plus 5 that I spent to make my protest. No problem about that, because I believe in protesting. So I sat there minding my own business, keeping myself to myself, quite alone, and the people from up north, somewhere near like Durham, Newcastle, sat near me, and we chatted and we spoke, and people were so friendly. It was incredible. People came all the time, constantly asking permission to take my photograph with that bog off our freedom, Boris. So I didn't mind. I didn't want to be protesting against COVID-19 or 5G, because they're still in discussion, and I've already voiced my opinion on YouTube. So I wasn't there to make any fuss about 5G, although I would another time, or COVID-19. I am concerned, and was concerned, about our freedom. The freedom which my parents, both now deceased, Mum last year, age 99, were in the Second World War for. I am knowledgeable that they used to have this, unit in the army, if you like, propaganda unit. My understanding is they were never taken down. They still exist, and that is why people like me, who go on YouTube and put things up, are trolled. I've been called a conspiracy theorist at my age, ridiculous, and a pretend Christian. I'd like to ask any Christian who is one, how can you pretend to be one? It's not an easy thing, because you can be persecuted or whatever, and you have to believe in what you're doing and saying, because you will come up against some people who don't believe in God and think you're a crank. Anyway, getting back to the police. I sat there minding my business all day till 4 o'clock. Never left the spot, although I might have liked to go to the loo at one point. And there were some nice policemen there. They were young, pleasant, ordinary regalia, the normal, not the heavy-handed stormtrooper type which appeared later. They came up to me and they spoke to me. Our conversation was simple. I'm here to gently, quietly protest, not be a nuisance, not cause any trouble. And if you officers see anybody coming with machetes, which I saw on YouTube and networks saying, bring your weapons, bring your knives, I said, I'd appreciate if you took them out, arrested them, took them away. They're not welcome. That was my conversation with those two young policemen. I told them all sorts of things so they could identify who I was if they'd spoken to me, because they would know. I didn't have to give the information I did, but I was happy to tell them where I'd come from, what I was there for. And off they went, and I never ever saw a policeman until, that's the until bit. The protesting was underway with the most wonderful people from all over the world, all races, all colours, all creeds, all babies, old ladies with dogs in a pushchair, others walking dogs, every kind of person, and they were all happy. It was like a festival. There was such a joyous, beautiful, and I prayed all week that there would be peace, and I gather that others did, and God answered our prayers. I also prayed for good weather. We'd had rotten weather in London all week, raining, wind, and I'd bought a jacket in Hearts, Camden, £9.99 to keep warm, but because it didn't undo or undo a zip, I didn't wear it because it was warm enough not to wear it, which was a good thing. So I sat there, and lots of people came to me. I got interviewed by an American radio man who said he's from several networks, and he asked me lots of questions. I got videoed and interviewed by quite a number of people. One teacher gentleman and I were talking, sitting on the wall, talking about many things, and it was Turkish TV who came and asked to speak to us, and he was highly intelligent, highly educated, so he did 99% of talking because he knew more than me. He was very knowledgeable, and it was wonderful, really. It was absolutely wonderful. I really felt happy. And then I was talking with Antonio. He said he originated from Colombia, I believe. He was 30 years old, and we chatted. And I told him, you know, I'm a bit claustrophobic, I can't be near lots of crowds. He said, if there's any trouble, I'm here behind you, standing up, because I was here last week and I saw what the police did. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, he said, there was a gentleman who was hit on the head by a wooden, now he said wooden truncheon, and he claimed that the man died. So I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't got a clue about that, but I do know that he was concerned that the police might kick off, and that was part of our conversation. I said, look, there's no need for them to do anything. Look how happy it is here. Look how people feel safe. And we've got these nice young policemen wandering around, and they are nice. And they thanked the policeman, prayed for the policeman who died this week, who was killed, murdered. And they prayed for all the police. This is before we really began properly. So there were people of prayer there. There were non-believers, but who cares? We're all God's children. So it doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not. There were godly people there. There were old people like me there, young people as young as a baby, because as I was leaving, a man came with a baby in his sling, and I said, I don't advise you to be around here, there's been trouble. He said, I've just come from Hyde Park. I said, well, that's where they're going to finish their free speech that they didn't get to do. They've arrested the German doctor who's come from Germany to teach us and talk to us, because he's one of 1,000 doctors worldwide who are opposing the stories about COVID-19, and he's here to talk to us. But they arrested him before he could finish. He did begin, but he didn't get into the subject matter because all hell let loose. And there were things that I believe that David Ike, they wanted to arrest him, and I've heard him on the internet. I've heard him over the years, and well, I have no comment about David. You either like him or you don't. You either agree or you don't, but you can't agree with everything he says. However, you can't dismiss everything he says, and he's the only sane voice, and I don't believe him to be a liar. Maybe a bit different, but that doesn't make you a liar. It just means you think differently. You think outside the box. We need people like that anyway, to make us think, basically. So anyway, here I was sitting down, and by this time Antonio had stood up and he said, I'll keep an eye out for you. And then I said to him, you know, I saw some police go into the Tate Gallery, young ones, and I thought they were going for a tea break or go to the loo or something. I said, but they weren't in there long enough, because I know that you get so much stuff. I said, I feel a bit uncomfortable because they've come out, they were lined up in a different way to, they wouldn't normally be like that, some sort of semicircle type thing all spread across in front of the Tate Gallery where I was right away, and I thought, that's a bit of an odd stance to take, isn't it? And they were. I said, you know, Antonio, I think we're going to have trouble here soon. I really, really do. I had seen on my bus journey lots of police vans in side streets. There were normal metropolitan police vans filled with people, and there were territorial vans, which is a bit strange. And I thought, territorial, that's army. I'm not a damn fool. Territorial is army. That's what they are. So I hadn't paid it any mind, because I used to go to football matches from 1977, following Arsenal all over the country, all over Europe too, taking my baby son right up until he grew up. He's now 44. And I've seen trouble at football matches, and the British police are the best at the world, apart from Liverpool, at Liverpool. when they've behaved appropriately with crowd control. So I never feared in those days at all. I used to carry James, and fans were great, and I could be in the middle of crowds and not scared. It's only since something happened to me in 2009 that I'm totally claustrophobic. I just couldn't be in the middle of a crowd anyway. So I was minding my own business. Know that I've got this young man behind me, because I was sitting on the wall, he was standing, and there was grass behind him that went back to the Tate Gallery itself, a wall, you know, quite a few yards, possibly 30 yards, maybe, between 20 and 30 yards behind me. I'm not sure, I'm not really too good anymore at measuring. And so there was a long gap from where I sat to the wall, piece of grass that people could sit on or walk along on. They did anyway. Whether they should or not, I don't know. So I felt okay and safe, knowing that that young man would somehow rather help me if anything happened. So then, without any warning, I couldn't believe what I saw. Everywhere was peaceful, everywhere was calm, everyone was trying to listen to the speaker. It was like a happy summer festival. Everyone felt joyful and delighted and friendly with one another. There were the odd people walking through or coming out of the gallery who had masks on, but the majority of the people who'd come there to protest, they didn't want the masks, and to be honest, they didn't really need them, because a virus lives in the body, not out of the body. If this is man-made, then maybe they do need a mask, who knows, but I should have got something by now if it was really like that. So anyway, getting back to what happened next. Sorry to take so long. I was sitting there, just relaxed, never had any fear, never had any reason to have any fear. Have you ever been in a hurricane? Oh my goodness me. A hurricane is very scary, and I've lived through a few in Jamaica. Very, very scary. I can actually say that the police, for the first time in my 73 years, made me terrified of the consequences of what they began. I was absolutely gobsmacked, scared, fearful, not just for myself. I've had a good life, but for the young people, the old people, the dogs, the babies, the ordinary people who were squashed up because they chose to be. They weren't made to be. They wanted to hear, they wanted to see. I wanted to stay safe, so I wasn't near them. And I'm glad I didn't sit downstairs near the waterfalls and all of that, because I would have been more flattened than I was becoming after this hit us. It was bang. They came in like stormtroopers in the movies. Woof! Oh, my goodness me! I thought, but there's no trouble here. What are they doing? They just steamrolled everybody in sight, and as one, woof, gone, and they just descended and attacked people. That was the worst of it. So the people who were, they fled, and they fled to where I was sitting. Well, you see the size of it. I wouldn't be able to climb up the wall that I was sitting on. So Antonio, the Colombian, and two others literally dragged me up to get, because people were against me, absolutely pressing against me, and that's the worst thing you can do with someone who can't breathe and panics and oh, I can't explain what claustrophobia is like. I was locked in a car in 2009, and it's made me different from it. I can't. This baby where I was staying, he's one. He turned the light off, which is outside the bathroom where I was using. I screened the place down, did it 3 times. I can't bear even when the light goes out, so you know my fear is dreadful. I can't cope with it. So I just couldn't cope with all these people were actually against me. I'm sitting here, and so up these three helped me, and I managed to get against the wall of the Tate Gallery, and the police were all around shoving people in front of me, tried to move me, but I just kept my mouth shut, never said a word, just squeezed back and thought, don't touch me, don't speak to me, and they didn't, but they shoved all the other people, and as they shoved them off and dispersed them, more came, so the whole area became quite full for a while. But mayhem, absolute mayhem, and there was not any trouble from people, it was only the police, and I just couldn't believe they were police. I mean, I trust the police. I'd always call the police. I was raised by a family of people that brought you up to think a policeman was okay, and you'd be safe and you'd be looked after, and you know, they're the ones you go to immediately. You know, that's how I brought my kids up, who are now 53, 54, 55 and 44. Always told them that the police were okay, but I couldn't speak now. I could only talk about individual policemen. Individual. They were like terrorists. They were awful. They were not like normal policemen. If I had to bet on it, I'd say there were soldiers dressed up as policemen, but I don't care whether they were. They weren't behaving like policemen should. They instigated violence, and they did it themselves. You know, this was unwarranted, uncalled for. That means we are a communist police state. That's what it means. That's what it looks like. That's what it felt like. Normally, I was a football referee in London from 11th of July 1980. I know the laws of the game. I used to officiate in all London football, many leagues. Right up until 99, when I went to Jamaica, I also officiated in games in Jamaica. I know how you address people. You try to avoid trouble. I certainly did as a football referee. You don't need to be officious. When you're a policeman or a referee, you talk. You might book them once and then you warn them of their future conduct. That is how it's done in the game of football. So should it be with the police. If people are breaking the law in any way, you don't dive in immediately. You do control the situation, you limit whatever's happening, and you warn them of their future conduct. But let's look at this factually. Nothing was going on. There was absolutely no trouble. No one was threatening anyone. Everybody was listening. Occasionally people would shout things, cheer things, and so on. But that's normal in a protest. When someone says a key word, they join in. Absolutely nothing bad was going on in Trafalgar Square or around it. Not until the police swarmed in, absolutely swarmed and took over and decided to clear all the protesters out of the way. Everyone. Some like me just stayed put. I was not going to go in any crowd to escape. To get a bus nearby, the 24 or 29 is what I needed, and that's what I got later. I didn't leave until 4:30 because I couldn't cope with crowds and being swamped and swarmed, but I really felt pain in my heart to see what Great Britain, England has come to. I've had happy times in the past, in Trafalgar Square and other places, but I've never witnessed anything like this in my 73 going 74 years, and I hope I never do again. However, it will not stop me going again to protest. I've kept my banner, I brought it back to Norfolk. I will use it again while Boris is still in charge. We do not have a parliament making decisions. They gave it away. I saw it on the internet. I don't have a television. I don't own one. Look at my flat. You can. I don't. This is all I've got. Is my computer. I don't watch BBC, Sky News, any sort of normal main media unless I'm visiting a neighbour, and unfortunately it might be on. And that's about it. I wouldn't seek out to listen to them because I don't believe they would tell the truth. This is all about truth. We've been lied to, and the numbers that they said were there were in excess of what they're saying, but it doesn't matter, neither here nor there. They haven't said how many were there, but it was a heck of a lot more than the normal limit allowed there. And they said the police were trying to make them social distance. Excuse me, we chose, not to social distance. That's our issue. If I get COVID-19 and I die, it'll be God's will. But as I don't believe in the lies, it'll be flu or pneumonia or natural causes that I will die from when God calls me. So we're all in control of our own health, our own whatever we do. If we chose to be there and risk getting anything, that was our choice. We weren't made to go there. We wanted to go there, to stand together as one nation with all different views, but in agreement. We want the truth, the absolute truth, and nothing but the truth. And the churches have let us down. The politicians have let us down. Everybody's let us down. But we have to stand up and be counted now. This is warfare. It is warfare. Psychological warfare, spiritual warfare, and a warfare of a government against its people. I don't care if you're Labour or not. I voted Labour. My dad was a Tory councillor, a chairman in Downham Market. I was brought up in a Tory household. Never voted Tory in my life. I never will again vote for anything or anybody, not even Labour, because we've not had good Labour leaders for years and years. I think we need new parties, completely different from Labour and Tory. We need new type of politicians who believe in democracy, but that's another issue. I'm here to talk about me and the police. I've always trusted and liked the police. Why can't I anymore? I ask you that. Do they serve us, the people, or are they serving Boris and his hidden advisors? Because they're not keeping the rules that they make. They're breaking them all the time. Thank God there are a few reporters who follow them and report, but I expect it's worse than that. Anyway, if COVID-19 was what Boris had, why didn't he die? I'm not wishing him dead, but if it was real, as it said it's killed lots of people, because his health is so bad because of his lifestyle, he should be dead by now. Whatever his illness was, it was rather convenient to happen at this time. Yes, he was ill and I feel sorry for him and I'm glad that he's better. But personally, he's not up to the job. He's not doing or done what we believed that he would do. I believe he'd fulfill Brexit and do all the rest. So did a lot of others. He was good at one point, but he's now hopelessly lost. So I actually believe that he should give the powers back to the MPs who he so gave it away. I watched it on the internet for 2 years. He should have done it for 3 months, renewables, something like that, to see how things were going or whatever. He should never have given the powers of Parliament away. We're not actually being governed, are we? And they're talking about a lot of tosh when they are in there at the moment, instead of what they're doing to normal people, ordinary people who don't believe the lies anymore. You've brainwashed everybody. I don't know if you're going in for a one world government. I couldn't care less, but I would care less if you did try to force us to do something we don't want to do. This is supposed to be a democratic society where the voters, their interests come uppermost. This is all about money. Everybody knows it's about money. The money banks, the private bankers, the people who are losing money and What about the people who are making money? Can you imagine how much money is being made out of these masks and these things that you have to put on your skin that poison you? Oh, I won't go down that road today. But getting back to the protest, we have the right to protest freely and without interruption. The police chief in London should be held responsible for what happened there on Saturday. His or her head, I don't know who's in charge, should roll, because it was absolutely appalling what you did and allowed to be happening to the British public, who were peaceful. We're not at war in the world, but we're at war with you, the government, which doesn't exist currently until you give it back to the MPs. This is awful. This is the worst day in my history of my lifetime. I've never seen anything like it, never heard anything like it, and I hope to God someone takes control soon. And where's the voices of the church? You disappointed me greatly, greatly. Jesus wouldn't like the way you've behaved in this, believing the lies and obeying them, shutting the churches. Then when it comes back, it's abnormal. Yeah, how do I like seeing old people in their 90s struggling to breathe with masks on? The old priest who's 80's got cancer and yet he wears 2 masks, one material and one visor. What kind of thing is that? All based on lies. Yeah. You never ever bothered to get any real scientists, real people, and you shut down and lock down and shut up and arrest people with knowledge, more knowledge than me. But I know a liar when I see one, and I know our country and the world is being lied to. What for? We've still to discover, but we all have our ideas. So you better do something about it. You all need to be kicked out, all of you, and a general election again. Get rid of the ones in there. I tell you what, there'd be a very different result now than what it ever could have been before. And you, Labour, had better buck up, because you're no better. I don't know who is any good, actually. We're really in the abyss now, almost in the end times, what with the weather, the health, the behaviour of people. Yeah, something dreadful is going on, and we should be one. We shouldn't be fighting amongst ourselves, and we shouldn't have the police fighting us. Can you imagine living in a country where the police fight the protesters and hurt them? Oh, come on. I'm recording this for future, to stay where it is on the internet, so that my descendants, who I don't know and won't know, will know the truth. Because you're not going to get the truth from Sky, BBC, ITV, or those people. Not even in the newspapers. The truth is not there. The truth only exists with ordinary people who don't have hidden motives, and ulterior motives at that. So I'm absolutely fed up to the teeth with the lies. I went there for my aunt. She doesn't know, but I called her name in one video. I said, my aunt is 85. She's in a care home which she pays £1,000 a week approximately out of her own bank account to be there, to be looked after, because my cousin, a girl, is in London, Dulwich, a teacher. She was only allowed to visit on Saturday. For the first time for weeks, she was allowed in the bubble, whatever they call it. But she had to sit in the garden. Can you imagine that, in Downham Market, sitting near the river, near the railway station, in a garden for about an hour only with your elderly mother? That's disgusting. And my 2 boy cousins, her brothers, they're not allowed at all. One in London, one in Norfolk, like me, and I'm not allowed. I have not seen my auntie since April. I talk on the phone, but this is unfair and unjust. I actually told her, take yourself out of there and go and live in a little hotel for that money. I said, and you can see who you want in your family. But she wouldn't do that. She thought she wouldn't be allowed back. Allowed back? What, that kind of money? Well, they want to kill off the old people, except those with money, and I bet when their money's gone, they sort of, don't care. Anyway, for people like that, and the people in the building where I live, there's 31 flats here, all old, they have lived in fear of the lies for months. I think they're beginning to realise that we might not have been told the truth, because no one in this Norfolk village has died of COVID-19, and we're not a tiny village. I think we're the biggest in England, actually, the size of it. No, nobody can see a doctor anymore. No one's getting treatment anymore. Can't get tested for cancer. You can't get treatment for it. The dentists are in turmoil. Oh, you've made a mess of this country, Boris. You've got a lot to answer for. I don't know how you sleep at night. And as for the police, how did you make them go in and do that? How? How do you think you'll get away with that? You all need to be in the courts. You all need to be prosecuted for what you did to the people on Saturday. The fear you must have put in the old people, and the children, and the babies, and the dogs. You're a bloody disgrace, and I don't like swearing. You're really, really bad. I'd say you was the worst Prime Minister this country has ever had in the whole of the history, and yet you showed so much promise and charm. I was even fooled by you. I didn't vote for you, but I thought you could do a good job. I've never said anything bad about you before. I hope I don't have to again. I hope you will pick up the pieces and say sorry. Say sorry to all those people who travelled from all over this country. Even the Isle of Wight someone came from. They came from everywhere just to let you know that they were disgusted how you sent the police in against us, swarming like flies and like stormtroopers out of some horrible movie. You are responsible for that, Boris. You really are. You're an absolute disgrace as a Prime Minister. You really are. You've let the side down. You've let Great Britain down. You'd better sort Brexit out so we can sort you out and get rid of you. I think I've said too much. But I didn't intend to say this much. All I know is I'll be there next time there's a protest. You're not going to keep us away until you listen. Listen, Boris. Sort it out. Be fair. It's not too late to be great. If you tell the truth and do the right thing. We need an apology. A big apology. You need to humble yourself down and look at what you've done and what you're doing. You can say the truth for once and everybody would adore you. Tell the friggin' truth. I'm sorry about some of the things, but I'm only trying to tell the truth. I am trying to tell the truth. I haven't made anything up. It's just my own thoughts come in the way sometimes. You can't help it, you know. You think, what is going on? I've never seen anything like this in my whole life. Like, you know, we haven't got any freedom of speech, freedom of action. What are we? We're not robots yet. And I'll say no to the vaccine, and so should anybody else, because God knows what you put in it, other than what I heard, live aborted babies and malaria. Nobody should have a vaccine that hasn't been tested, where it hasn't been isolated even. This virus has not been isolated. So a test is invalid. Invalid. No one's injecting my body. And I advise anybody else not to have one either, because you'll be the first to die, whatever they put in it, or controlled by technology. The sign of the beast, definitely, the sign of the beast. Well, you're an immoral Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, to have allowed this to happen. We used to be a God-fearing country. But now we're not. We're a policeman-fearing country, thanks to you and your advisors, unknown. That's all I have to say. You've made this country disgraced by not telling the truth. We want the truth, even if it hurts. Tell us the truth, that it's about money and we're bankrupt. People can deal with bankruptcy, but they can't deal with lies. Lies, lies, lies. We want the truth, Boris, right now. The truth. Thank you for listening. That's enough.